Well, we are live for the San Diego FC expansion draft. Favi, my good friend, is joining me. Appreciate you being on tonight, man. How's it going?
What up? What up? Thank you for having me on. Um, I'm wearing this hat because I'm thinking they are the true winners of tonight so far. But let's see how this turns out for San Diego. There's a lot of interesting players available, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about there's a couple leaks of who they might be able to select. Now, just to preface this, in years past, there's been two MLS teams that join the league. You think more specifically New York City FC, Orlando City SC. You think about Atlanta United, Minnesota United. So that's a true expansion draft where they're competing for players, right? Now, this is kind of, you're not really competing with anybody. You can pick whoever you want, and obviously go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5 rounds. But there are a couple interesting rules and a couple things that have happened. Now, you had reported or you shared that Inter Miami had traded for or traded CJ Dos Santos to San Diego FC for what, 100K in GAM, and with
Yeah.
them doing that, they've made a backdoor deal to where they're not going to draft any players from Inter Miami.
Well, we'll see, right? We'll definitely see. Who knows? That backdoor deal stuff's not out in the open. So let's 100% see if that's the case. I know there's excuse me, there's Stephen Goff, I believe, from DC United or he's on Blue Sky now, but he was saying that looks like San Diego is going to go ahead and grab a guy from St. Louis, Kojima, and give him to DC United for 400K GAM. So that's always an option too. They can use this draft to kind of load up on GAM and load up on assets and then go and get guys. Look, I think they already won the day with getting Andres Reyes for about 750K GAM. What a steal. And I know he had an illness at the MLS Cup, but man, oh man, this seems a little too fishy for me.
Yeah, Andres Reyes. He didn't have. He had an illness or something like that pre-game, and he got booted from the starting 11 in the most important game of the year. He obviously had that game-winning header against Orlando City that sent them to the MLS Cup final. 750K GAM for him is a pretty good deal. But Favi, let's talk about this before we get into this. I want to talk about the roster at hand. I want to talk about San Diego FC, what they've done so far, who's on the team. Now, you just said there's a couple players that they're rumored to be trading for, but nothing is official yet. There's a couple that we're waiting for to get the official word. They have a couple players. Last I checked, so they have 7 players right now on the roster. I'm going to share this real quick. Now, obviously, their first signing in history, I'm pretty sure he was the first. He was definitely the first DP, was Chucky Lozano. Now, that was a great signing by them. That was a guy that's been rumored to come to MLS for a couple years now. LAFC was a team that was hot on his heels, but he is the inaugural DP and first DP in San Diego FC's history. What's your thoughts on Chucky Lozano being the first DP in San Diego history?
Yeah, honestly, this reminds me a lot of the Carlos Vela transfer to LAFC. I think they're getting a guy in his prime. I think they're getting a guy, or maybe not too far off of his prime, a guy who can be a difference maker in MLS. Now, this would be a great signing, 3 years ago, but yeah, I'm at this point with MLS where it's like, what else can you do, right? You got your superstar. Okay, now go get your other superstars because that's what you're going to need. And I'm a big believer that you're going to need more guys than just one. And you got to keep Chucky Lozano happy, in my opinion. I think you need to be able to go ahead and make sure that he wants to stay in San Diego. He has guys around him that he believes in. I'm a big believer in faith in the squad. So having another guy to help carry the load for Chucky Lozano is going to be something that's very, very necessary. And looking at this roster so far that San Diego has, there's a lot of guys that I can't pronounce their names, and I know you're the best pronunciator on YouTube. I know that. So I don't know if you want to go at this, but Marcus in Gavarston is a name that is gonna be a big factor for this team. And then another guy named Jeppe Tvetskov. He's a defensive mid, and Marcus is a striker. Paddy McNair, the center back. And they already traded for a guy named Tomas, sorry, from
Tomas.
LAFC. And then, Alex Mighton, another youngster, and then Duran Ferreira. And then a couple of moves today. So they've made a move for CJ Dos Santos and then McVay from DC United. So I actually like the McVay move. I think that's one where it's about 50,000 to get him, and then he can have 50,000 in incentives. And to be honest, that to me looks like a sixth pick, because when a player gets drafted from your team, the team gets 50,000 in GAM. So that to me is a good piece of business. Now the Dos Santos move, truly don't like it. I think there is better players that you can grab for Inter Miami, and I want to wait and see if there was some sort of a backdoor deal on that, to not draft anybody, because to be honest, you're really not putting the pressure on by not drafting Julian Gressel and Matias Rojas, because to be honest, you could probably get 500K GAM for Matias Rojas if you try to flip him. Pick him up, flip him to a team like the San Jose Earthquakes, or a team that's looking for,
or keep him, man. He's good. Like, I think Matias Rojas, in my opinion, was the most underrated signing in MLS last year. I was talking to people when he came over. Obviously, he's a Paraguayan international. He was playing in Brazil last year, and they said this dude's really good. He just can't stay healthy. When he came to Miami, I think he was a true game changer, Fabi. Like, he was good, man, out of the gate. And he was an insurance policy for Miami because they were preparing for Messi to leave for Copa America. They wanted someone to go in there and fill in. But little did they know, Matias Rojas was going to play so well that he ended up getting called by Paraguay, and he missed time too. So he was a great signing. I want to get the super chat real quick. Juan Vargas says Riz levels over 9,000 for this episode. Yeah, we definitely got the Riz tonight, especially with my boy Favi in the chat, or joining us live tonight. Guys, real quick, if you haven't already, make sure you like the stream down below. It helps us out. Comment if you have any questions. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We hit 5,000 subscribers today, so the Riz levels are definitely off the chart tonight. So I appreciate all the support. We got 105 people watching live with us right now, Favi. People want to know. People want to know who San Diego FC is going to add to their roster. I want to say something else too about this. I've been following the league a long time. I will say that San Diego is kind of late to the game with building their roster.
Yeah.
A lot of times the rosters will be a little bit more filled out at this point. They only have one DP as of right now. I'm starting to wonder if they're going to probably wait until the summer game until they add another quality player and just kind of see what the roster is before they make any moves. Now, I don't know if the San Diego fans are going to be impatient because that. I think they're probably just going to be excited to see their team play. So they'll probably have a little bit of leeway. But I think that they want to see how this team plays before they go and drop a bag on someone else. Unless it's like a Kevin De Bruyne, they'll pull the trigger on that deal if he becomes available.
So what I like so far about San Diego is they have ambition. I mean, you get Chucky Lozano. That already shows you that you're a level higher than a lot of these, MLS teams that have been here since the beginning, right? Like, in my opinion, getting Chucky Lozano as your first signing is something that a lot of people would want on their team, especially if they have a Mexican community, or especially if they have Mexican fans. Coming from San Jose, they would kill for Chucky Lozano out here, right? So I'm so ready for this tinfoil hat, because they got Chucky Lozano, but they've been striking out. I mean, Eric Gutierrez was a guy from Chivas that they were highly linked to. Looks like he's going to join Chivas in the preseason. So he's looking less and less likely for San Diego. But shoot, there is a Mexican superstar in this expansion draft. I know everybody doesn't want to talk about this, but Hector Herrera is still, in my opinion, one of the better players in this league. And if you're striking out on all the other DPs, you can literally grab a DP that is, 34 years old, but in my opinion, is not damaged goods just yet. Yes, you're going to overpay for him, but you still have a buyout for this season. You could totally have him as a DP, and then let's say it's not working out, and you want to bring in a guy like De Bruyne, use your buyout on Hector Herrera, and then open up that DP slot, right? So it's an interesting kind of thought process here, because Hector Herrera, in my opinion, is going to go to Liga MX and be a starter for one of those CONCACAF Cup teams, and he's going to be a problem for MLS teams. So I don't know. I just think this is a player where you can add a superstar and get your fans extremely excited for this team, and they already are. But shoot, man, way to solidify the Mexican media to be all over your team if you go get Hector Herrera, in my opinion, because you know you're going to get ESPN from Mexico out there almost every game, or having them talk about your team in Mex all the time.
Okay, but what about your other Mexican international player that you're obsessed with? This is a guy that you were saying that Austin FC should trade a bunch of GAM and TAM for. Our boy Alan Pulido, who was not protected by Sporting Kansas City, the 33-year-old striker. I think he had a okay season. He's really only had it's 1.5 decent seasons at Sporting Kansas City. Is that somebody you would try to get? The problem is that if you get him, he's going to be a DP. His salary is like $3-4 million, which makes it a little difficult with some of these additions. I don't think that you would necessarily want to waste a DP spot on Alan Pulido.
Yeah, Alan Pulido, I do agree with you. That was a different time back then when I said go spend 2 million GAM and go get Alan Pulido if you're Austin FC, because in my opinion, I kind of view this as, this is not just like a soccer team. You're building a brand for the first year. And the last thing you want to be as a brand is a team that's not competitive the first year. And I think take Hector Herrera out of that Houston Dynamo team, and maybe Coco, because he's not going to be here next year. What is Houston, right? Is that team still a playoff team, right? So in my opinion, loss is cool. Definitely the last game of the season by spitting on the ref. But shoot, if he was at 3 to 4 million in salary, why wouldn't you take a chance? I mean, you don't have to pay a transfer fee for him. You have the money. It's not like you don't have the money. He is a jersey. He'll sell you some jerseys. I don't know. I just like Hector Herrera a lot for the San Diego team as a chance to have at least 2 DPs going into this thing, because following the San Jose Earthquakes, I know how it is to have 1 DP going into the season and what your fan base thinks. Maybe they're getting the benefit of the doubt because they're a brand new squad. But shoot, man, having Chucky Lozano and Hector Herrera, players that know each other, playing together would not be an easy win for teams to come into San Diego, to be honest. I don't know. Shoot for the fences. I mean, like, that's why I'm not so crazy about this CJ Dos Santos kind of signing. $100K for a backup goalkeeper that didn't really impress to me. I don't know. Like, you could probably get some sort of goalkeeper in this league, like, for that price. I'm trying to think, like what would John McCarthy's rate be, right? Let's say the Galaxy gets some crazy goalkeeper that wants to play in LA that's from Europe. McCarthy's on the block, so it's just, I don't know. I don't like that move at all. I that's the first move from San Diego that I thought was not good. But yeah, Hector Herrera, in my opinion, should be picked in this draft.
I think he'll be a backup, honestly. Now, Christian Morales says, "Don't take Brugman, I beg." Now,
Yeah.
I think that could be a possibility. I know we were texting about him earlier, but Favi, if you're an expansion team, right? And I'm sure Christian is a LA Galaxy fan, but if you are an expansion team, you want to get some of these pieces from the MLS Cup, the reigning MLS Cup champion, because you're getting pieces from someone who knows how to do it at this league, just coming off a championship, is able to kind of like show the rest of his new teammates what it takes. That's the kind of locker room you want to build. And I think Brugman, I mean, he was the MVP of the MLS Cup. He was very good. He stepped in for Ricky Puig, and he played very well. That key pass he had to Joseph Paintsil for the first goal was beautiful. One of the best passes I've seen in the playoffs. And that is a good addition. Now, what do you think about your fellow Uruguayan Gaston Brugman? Would that be someone that you would be interested in at San Diego FC drafting?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's a leader on and off the pitch. MVP of the MLS Cup. It doesn't get better than that, right? There's not many random MLS Cup MVPs stepped up when Ricky Puig went down. Yeah, of course you want Brugman. He's never been bad for the Galaxy. The Galaxy have had, I would say, not the best couple of years, but man, Gaston Brugman has been solid, and he's been solid even through, before they had these guys in Peck and Paintsil. So, of course, I see the chat kind of going crazy right now. This is something where I kind of saw this name pop up, but yeah, Tom Bogart just released a bomb. Paul Arriola, is on his way to Seattle. That's a player that wasn't protected.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like,
Wait a second. Hold on. Time out. Guys, breaking news. So are Seattle Sounders going to take 2 FC Dallas players? Because I was on a stream last night with Cheyenne talking about Jesus Ferreira, our good friend Nico, who covers Seattle, Nico Moreno, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah.
reported that Seattle was trading for Jesus Ferreira. So are they going to double dip? Seattle's going to take 2 players or get 2 players from FC Dallas?
Yeah, look, Seattle has to beef up no matter what for this, Club World Cup, and Paul Arriola was a guy who was left unprotected in this draft, and honestly, it's interesting. That was a guy who I thought could be a San Diego player just because he speaks Spanish. He's a guy who can be a leader in the locker room, and maybe isn't in FC Dallas's plans, but now he has a new home. I actually don't know how this works because what if he still gets selected? What if he gets selected by San Diego, but he has a transfer for Seattle? So it's interesting to see. But maybe they just stay away completely because he already has a new home. But yeah, man, that is a crazy, crazy transfer. A guy who is a great MLS player, maybe hasn't been the best last year in FC Dallas, but still, I would say still solid, though he was a contributor for that team. But yeah, crazy to see. Joao Pedro is another guy who's available in this expansion draft that I could see San Diego taking a look at if they have an international slot. But again, international slots are a premium for a brand new club. But personally, I don't know. They might be wasting a couple of them already with some of the youngsters they're bringing in, and hopefully they find a way to kind of balance them out. But yeah, crazy. Insigne is up there, right? You don't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Nobody is touching Insigne, man. Nobody is taking that deal. That is the worst deal. Lorenzo Insigne was a very good player for Napoli at one point, but I would argue that he's the biggest bust in MLS history just based off his salary. Yeah, man, he's making 15, 16 million a year.
Yeah, his salary is massive. I gotta give you that.
When you're making 16 million a year and you're on a 5.5-year deal, I mean, that's nuts, man. Like, and think about it, Fabi. He still has 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
So that's the worst deal in the history of MLS, maybe ever.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad. I mean, 15 mil alone is an insane amount of money. But what I was gonna say was, yeah, I saw Gaston Brugman get on a flight to go to Uruguay today with his family, and I don't think that he's gonna be drafted. If anything, they would have told him ahead of time, and maybe you wouldn't be leaving to go on vacation. But that's one that's a little interesting. Jesus Ferreira was getting his house appraised a couple of weeks ago. Before MLS Cup. So I always thought he was going to be on the move because he's selling his Dallas home. I just didn't think it would be in Seattle. That's probably interesting. I see one of the people in the chat saying Cáceres sounds like he's probably retiring. Honestly, he told me that he wanted to play. He told me that he was going to stay in the United States to heal from his injury, and he wanted to play. I don't know. You don't really take a player that old on an ACL with this type of spot. You can sign him on a free agency. If you really wanted to. Yoshida's another guy that's available in this draft. Yoshida had a great season. Yes, he's an older center back, but it looks like they went out and got those center backs already today, so they're not going to be thinking about bringing those guys in. But yeah, it's just interesting. There's tons of options. It's a lot of fun. My favorite time of the year is the expansion draft or the re-entry draft. I'm still thinking we should do a re-entry draft stream because how do we know what players are in the re-entry draft while the draft is going on? Because players can opt out of the re-entry draft, so it's something to keep in mind too. But yeah, there was a player that was linked to San Diego today, Yao Yaboa. He was a part of the Right to Dream program. Another player that is Oseni Buda as well, but linked to San Diego. A lot of people think he's going to be taken in this draft tonight. He's following them on Instagram. Only follows the Columbus Crew, but that's a guy who you could get in the re-entry draft. But the thing is San Diego has the 30th pick in the draft, or in the re-entry draft, excuse me. So do you have to bite the bullet and take him earlier? Do you think someone's going to try to go for Yaboa? Do you feel like someone's going to try to add his, championship caliber talent to their own team? So do you kind of risk it? But yeah, it's just interesting to see all the options that are going on and all the mechanisms that you can bring in guys.
I don't know how many of all the people watching right now, I don't know how long you've been following Major League Soccer, but back at least 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago when they did the Orlando City, New York City expansion drafts, the old rules, Favi, where you were able to select two people from one team, and there was a total of 10 players drafted by each team. So obviously, this is a lot more dwindled down. 5 players. You can only select one per team. A lot more players are protected. I think it used to be like 8 players could be protected. I'm not exactly sure what the new limit is. But their MLS has got a lot more talent now. So there's going to be a lot of good players. We've talked about this. Now, one thing I did want to get to as well is you had mentioned, or I saw that Tom Bogert had reported this about Jovan Mihajlovic, which is I think he's Slovenian, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe he's Serb. I think he's actually Serbian. He was supposedly going to be a Man City purchase, and they were going to loan him out to New York City FC. But New York City FC went ahead and bought him themselves outright. And he is unprotected. He's 19 years old. He's a very, very talented player. And people were questioning, wait, they're going to let him be unprotected. This is a young talent that a lot of people think could be very good one day. And the reason that is because his transfer fee isn't paid for and complete yet. So any team, well, if San Diego selects him, they would be on the hook for a couple $1,000,000 to finish paying his fee. So they feel pretty good about him going unselected. That's a player that they're not really worried about losing. But it did pique my interest because this guy was very desired. This was a guy that City Football Group was wanting to buy for the first team, Man City, the flagship team, and New York City bought him outright themselves. This is a guy that they have in the plans one day, or they thought they might have in the plans one day for Man City. So we'll see what happens with that. But I think most of the time, Favi, we see defensive players selected. A lot of expansion teams, new teams will save their money, their resources for the attackers, the DPs, the U22s, the TAM players. They save that for the attacking side of the ball. I'm expecting a defense heavy night. You said CJ Dos Santos, being obviously traded Inter Miami from Inter Miami. We saw Reyes being traded from the Red Bulls to San Diego. I think that, well, first of all, I don't think CJ Dos Santos is going to be the starting goalkeeper for San Diego FC. I think they have a move that they're still waiting to make. I don't know what their plans are, but
do you do that with a backdoor deal for nobody not to pick anybody from Miami? No, I think this. Let's see if they take anybody from Miami to make our judgment on this. But it just seems crazy to choose to use the pick from Miami on CJ Dos Santos, right? Especially when you have guys who played alongside the GOAT, Messi, and you can probably get a little bit of insight on how that team runs from like a Gressel. I think Gressel should be on the move 100%, right? Or even a guy like Matias Rojas. So interesting that they would use, if they do, a backdoor deal on CJ Dos Santos on a backup goalkeeper, which makes no sense. 100K GAM, that's a lot of money.
A good friend of the show, Mo from Mo Football TV, says, how good is San Diego going to be? They are definitely going strong out of the gate. I think that they could be pretty competitive. They have one of the richest owners in Major League Soccer. He spent $500 million to get an expansion team in San Diego. They signed Chucky Lozano. I want to say they paid like $14-15 million for Chucky, or whatever you say. Sorry, I don't mean to mispronounce the name, Chucky Lozano. But they have high ambitions. They're talked about signing Kevin De Bruyne, paying him probably be the highest paid player in MLS outside of Lionel Messi. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think maybe I don't really know what his intentions are. He might stay at Man City another year. He might go to Saudi Arabia. He might go to another MLS team. But this team has shown their ambitions early on. They show that they're willing to spend. I just think that they're being a little bit more patient. And we've seen the last expansion team we saw, Fabi, was St. Louis City SC in 2022. And they made the MLS, or 2023. They made MLS Cup playoffs their first year. They won the West. They were the first seed in the West in their first year, which is a very impressive feat, right? expansion teams are given a lot of resources to succeed right out of the gate because they want to get the fans excited and obviously engaged with what's going on. So I expect San Diego to be very competitive out of the gate. I expect them to probably make the playoffs. Now the one
Really?
question, yeah. Now the one question I have, the one reservation I have is I'm not sure how good of a manager Mikey Veras is. I'm not convinced he's good. I'm not convinced he's bad. I really don't know what he is. So that is my one concern I have. Normally, you want a guy who has a pretty strong record, either coaching first division football or MLS to lead you into an expansion year. He doesn't have either one of those. He doesn't check either one of those boxes. We'll see how he does. But there has been a history with expansion teams when they hire a coach. Like look at Cincinnati. God, his name slipped in my mind, but he got fired the first year. There's been several instances. New York City FC fired Jason Kreis after 1 year. Orlando City they fired Adrian Heath in his second season. There have been managers, if they don't have a lot of MLS experience or they're kind of mediocre coaches, they don't last. Mikey Veras is still a question mark. I'm not sure if he's good or if he's bad, but it's going to be a hard and it's going to be a tall task leading an expansion team into their first season of Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I mean, MLS is not getting easier, and I think everybody understands that. The West isn't truly easy. I don't know. You have Bruce Arena in San Jose, so they're going to be a team looking. I mean, Houston could probably be on the down. Portland will probably be better if they can, retain Evander and then add some pieces on defense. I don't know. I just think with one DP, dude, I don't see this team making the playoffs. I really don't. I think they need to give Chucky Lozano some help. And do you wait on De Bruyne? I don't know. I really don't think so. I think you just hold your buyout clause and you go grab Hector Herrera and then you ball with two of those at least. I don't know. I just think
I don't know, man. You think I just kind of question if Hector Herrera is washed at this point, just because his production, his drop off in 2024 was significant compared to 2023. I was looking at this last night.
Still a playoff team, though, So I thought he led that team to the playoffs. Yeah, they didn't do much in the playoffs, but neither did Inter Miami, right? So I don't know. It's hard to make the playoffs. At least you would think it's hard to make the playoffs, but over half the teams make the playoffs.
Well, just look at this drop off because I'm just so the everyone watching can know as well. If you look at Hector Herrera's stat drop off from 23 to 24. In 2023, he had 4 goals and 17 assists. He had 21 goal contributions. And then 2024, he only had 1 goal and 3 assists. That is a huge drop off. And if you got a guy who would likely be a DP, because why would he take less money? He can go to Liga MX and get paid a DP salary just because of who he is in Mexico. He's not going to come at a bargain. He's not going to come at a discount. So I think that, and he's 34 years old, Favi. I think it's best to move in a different direction than him. Those DP spots are just so valuable, as we both know. Kevin De Bruyne is someone I'm still interested to see if that is a guy that they could realistically get. Is that someone who would want to play in San Diego for a expansion team? And when would they have to? How long would they have to wait to get him? Now, Man City's obviously been playing really bad. Were they on like a 10-game winless streak or something like that? They just lost again to Juve. So maybe Pep would let him leave early because they're going to bring some reinforcements into Man City. I don't know. But that could be someone that they can maybe work a deal out to get him in January if he wants to come to Major League Soccer. It's still not certain if he wants to right now. He is 33 years old. He'll be 34 next year. I think the time is now for him to come over here because he's already done everything in Europe.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I just have PTSD, to be honest. With guys, waiting for a DP to come, or at least, wanting to try to get a DP to come, because this to me has San Jose written all over it. You're going to go into the season with one DP. I don't know. I think with DPs, you got to get them early and you got to get them fast. Yeah, you're going to overpay, but I mean, I think everybody's going to overpay if you're not one of the top clubs in MLS. So I don't know. It's something to think about. Yeah, maybe Hector Herrera's salary is a little too much. It was at $4.7 million last year. The option is probably a little bit more, so probably around $5 million. But yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming. Yeah, definitely a big drop off. He's not your 10 though, so he's not going to rack up those assists. But maybe that gas in the tank is still there. But yeah, Liga MX's team is probably going to pick him up, and he's probably going to be a problem when it comes to CONCACAF Champions League. But yeah, I just don't like that this team only has one DP, and I think that's the biggest hole. Shoot, you can throw a couple of defenders together and still become an MLS playoff team. Look at Atlanta, right? Atlanta had a couple of guys they strung together, and they still found a way to make it to the second round of the playoffs because they had guys up front and they had guys in the middle of the field that could carry, like Miranchuk and Saba. So I think you need to find your offensive players and fast.
Yeah, I just got the live stream, so you have to sign up. I guess, on the website and give you information if you want to watch the expansion draft, just in case some of you guys were trying to watch it as well with us. It looks like Andrew Wiebe and Matt Doyle are talking right now about some of the team's needs, and Kalen Carr should be starting very shortly. Should be a quick process too, just because, like I said, there's 5 picks. They're the only team making selections, so I expect it to move pretty quickly. Favi, just to go back to some of the reported rumors, right? We've heard about the trades. Now, Yao Yaboa is one of the players that they're rumored to be selecting tonight. Who is the other player that they talked about? The name is slipping me. I'm forgetting.
Kojima.
Yeah, and they're talking about flipping him to DC United for $800K in GAM?
400K in GAM.
400K in GAM. Okay. Now, that's the only 2 reported picks we've heard of so far, correct?
Yeah, that's the only 2. We'll see, right? Maybe the last second kind of. So this is tough, right? Because the last second offer could come in and those picks get wiped completely, right? So it is interesting to see. But you could still go get. This is the crazy one. You could still go get Yaboa in the re-entry draft, so they don't have to get him now. If if I'm them, I roll the dice. I don't pick him today. I pick him in the re-entry draft personally.
Yeah, we're about underway. San Diego FC is joining Major League Soccer in 2025. They will be playing in the Western Conference, and they will be natural rivals with LAFC, LA Galaxy, San Jose Earthquakes, California rivals, right? And you were talking about having some type of California tournament. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you like the stream down below. We had a peak. We peaked at like 250 people with this night, Bobby. People are definitely excited about this expansion draft. We appreciate you guys watching and enjoying it with us. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the little bell notification so you never miss a video.
Wait, how do we have about 230 people in here, but only 18 likes? Like, let's come on, guys. Click that.
We got to get that up. 3-2 get 'em says, congrats on 5K, Will. Appreciate it. Yeah, we hit 5,000 subscribers today. I tell you what, Favi, it's been a hell of a first year, man. Hell of a first year in MLS. I appreciate you guys supporting the content. Hope you guys enjoy it. I enjoy making it for you, and I can't wait to see how much more this channel grows. And I'm very excited to have my boy Favi here tonight to break down these draft picks that San Diego FC will be making tonight. So Chucky Lozano signed, let's see, a 4-year contract. Now, one thing I was a little surprised, Favi, was that PSV flipped him so quickly, man. They bought him literally last summer and then just sold him this past summer, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was earlier than that. Either way, they flipped him pretty quick. He wasn't long for PSV in his second stint. So it kind of makes me think that he did have his intentions or his sights set on MLS the whole time. He just couldn't get the right move maybe when he wanted to, when LAFC were kind of, snooping around and trying to acquire him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Chucky Lozano, like, wasn't he always linked to MLS? And like, it almost felt like he shouldn't have gone to PSV. But you don't turn down a big club like that, So it's nice to see him finally come into MLS. He's going to definitely sell out tickets. He's going to sell seats. He's going to be a dynamic player. But, man, this guy's going to need help. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I want to look at this real quick because there's a lot of parallels between the 2025 San Diego FC and 2019 LAFC, because there's a lot of crossover there with some of the executives that are on the team, right, that are running the team. 2019 and obviously the Carlos Vela, Chucky Lozano comparison, right? Obviously, two Mexican international DPs, very popular. So LAFC in their first year, they had Tyler Miller, who was an inexperienced goalkeeper that they had traded from Seattle Sounders. He was kind of inconsistent, but this team is very similar, Fabi. I think they're going to have a very similar outcome. If I'm not mistaken, I'm looking at okay. So LAFC finished first in the Western Conference in their first year. No, actually, that's their second year. My bad. I was looking at the 2018 season. My bad. 2018 was their first season, not 2019. That is my bad. Okay, so they actually finished fifth place. LAFC finished fifth place in 2018 in their expansion season in MLS. I think if San Diego plays their cards right, they could be the 2018 LAFC. They could finish top 5 in MLS in their first year because they're willing to spend, and these teams are very similar. Now, the one
LAFC paid about $110 million to have an expansion fee to join MLS. This was $500 million. Like, that's almost five times more than LAFC. So this team does have money. So let's see if they use it. I kind of watched Mikey Varas talk to the local news media this morning, and he was saying that they need 19 players before preseason. Preseason starts in the beginning of February. Coachella, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a week before. It depends if they report to the camp first, and they do all their like physicals and stuff like that. So they have about 10 players now. They need 9 more players. So they're going to get 5 tonight, maybe going to get 5 tonight. But either way, there has to be 9 more players before February, and then they need 26 before the first game. So this team does need to make moves. Do they use all those 5 picks for players today? It is interesting.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how, like I said, build this team. I don't know a lot about Mikey Veras, what his style is, what his formation, what he's ideally wanting to play, what kind of just the ideal player that he wants to fit his system. There's a lot of unknowns, and so they only have one DP obviously right now is Chucky Lozano. They don't have any U22 signings. They have 2 DP spots open. There's just so much resources available still to build this team. And I do think that they're going to be very active in the winter transfer window. I think after this draft's done, they can see what their team looks like. Now, of course, they already know what their team looks like. They've already made their picks. They're just waiting to announce them right now. We're watching them announce their picks. They already know who they're going to get. As soon as those lists were released, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago, they were able to look at everything and pick who they wanted. They're just announcing it to us right now. But they're going to probably see what they could get in the expansion draft, and then they're going to fill out their holes maybe with some more trades. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more trades tonight and tomorrow for this team.
Yeah, you also have the expansion draft, but you also have the super draft. You have the MLS reentry draft, which they should be taking a guy at since money isn't an issue and there's good guys in that kind of player pool. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm excited to see. They're going to have a whole bunch of fans and people from San Diego kind of announce these picks. So it's interesting. I kind of want to grade every pick with the chat here. And I kind of want to say shout out to all the people that like this. We went up from 18 likes to 75. If we can get to 100, who knows how big this little live stream can be, right? So
let's get to 100 likes. Hey, guys, listen, let's get to 100 likes. And let's get like 20 more subs tonight. If you haven't subbed already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm your go-to place for all MLS content. Any team, I got you covered. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And also do me a big favor. Go follow my friend at Fabian Rankel on Twitter/X. He's the best in the business, the go-to journalist, my good friend. If you're not following him right now, you need to right now. You need to go to Twitter and follow him.
You make me blush.
No, you're the man. So everybody needs to show him a little bit of love. They're showing the roster right now of all the 9 players that they reportedly have on the team right now. But man, I tell you what, one thing that makes me hopeful and excited is all the buzz and interest that all these fans. We have, let's see, we got a trade here. Thiago Andrade got traded to San Diego, then Toronto FC, per Tom Bogert. Willing and Dylan, man. Willing and Dylan.
Oh, so the first the first person in the draft is going to be selected as Andrade, and they're going to trade him for Toronto. So let's see what they get from this move. What do you guys think of the pick? I want to say, chat. What do you think? A to F. What do you think of this pick so far?
Yes, we're going to break down every pick. So they haven't. I don't think they've announced it officially yet. Is that like a pre? Like I guess not a spoiler. I guess it is a spoiler, like a before the draft pick selected insider information type thing.
Yeah, he had 22 matches in the Chinese Super League, 2 goals and 3 assists last season. Transfermark has him valued at, let's see what his value is, valued at about 1 million right now. Man, I want to see what they're going to get for him. If he gets about 400K for this player in GAM, then that's the going rate for these picks, right? 400K. That's probably the most, because that was the same rumored number that was for Kojima. And hey, if you could turn 2 of these expansion draft picks into Andres Reyes, that's a win for me, in my opinion, right? You turn 400K, and then you go ahead and get Andres Reyes. So maybe they're just paying for Reyes right now with a couple of these picks. But yeah, what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of this selection, A through F? For me, I don't know. I think it's a D, right? It's kind of subpar.
It's underwhelming, right?
Yeah, right. It's a D, but I don't know. We'll see how much GAM is in this trade, but yeah, definitely underwhelming. I never thought this name would come off the board, but a lot of these are gonna be like that. So it's interesting.
Well, one thing that bothers me a little bit, there's a lot to dissect here, but one thing that bothers me, Fabi, is that they're making draft pick, or so Toronto FC's trading for this guy. They don't even have a coach yet. They don't have a manager, so they don't even know if Andrade is going to be a fit for the system or the formation, or that I don't like that, honestly, because I want to see the coach be able to get the players he wants. Now, Thiago played for New York City FC. He was a U22 signing. They got too many of them, so he was the first one to get booted out. They put him on loan in Brazil. Then he went, like you said, he went on loan in China. Hadn't really done anything since he left. He had one decent season in 2022 for New York City FC. Showed some flashes, but then he kind of stagnated. Didn't really do good in the Chinese Super League either. China, I mean, that's kind of bad. So it's kind of like you said, it's just a random trade or selection, man. And then they're flipping him to Toronto. Must be someone that Toronto is very interested in, but they have to make sure the player they're drafting is a right fit for them. So if they don't love anybody that's available, I can't blame them for like stacking some more currency, GAM, TAM, whatever it may be, to maybe get another player that they do like somewhere else.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Chat, I only see one for F for flop so far, but go ahead and give your grade in the chat if you have a second. And then also, guys, if you follow Will on Twitter or X, make sure you go ahead and share this link so that your friends and family and followers can hop in here in this chat, because let's get this chat room popping.
Dude, we got 92 likes. Guys, this is the go-to expansion draft coverage right now. Me and Fabian Rankel, there's no one better doing it than us right here. We're going to break it down, the draft picks. We're going to tell you if they're good, if they're bad. And not only are we going to tell you if they're good or bad, we want you guys to tell us if they're good or bad. We want to hear what you guys have to say, because we're assuming that some of you are MLS fans, but I assume also that a lot of you guys are San Diego FC fans. So maybe you don't know about some of these players, but if you do, let us know what you think about the players that have been selected. Got a couple C's, a D plus, so a D plus trade. Mr. Good friend of the show says it's a C. You obviously said it was a C. Irvin says it was an F or a flop. San Diego will flop. I think Irvin is a maybe an LAFC or LA Galaxy fan. The rivalry is already picking up, right? By the way, real quick, which of the two clubs do you think will be a bigger rival to San Diego? Do you think it will be LAFC, or do you think it'll be the LA Galaxy?
I want to say it's going to be the San Jose Earthquakes. To be honest, it's going to be the we're not LA rivalry. That's, to me, I think that's what it's going to be.
I do think that because I was talking to my buddy Nick Chastain, who is the host of the Voices of Black and Gold, and he told me that there's a lot of LAFC fans in San Diego who make the drive up and are just loyal LAFC fans. And they told him, hey, man, I love LAFC, but I'm going to support my team in San Diego now. I'm going to have to switch allegiances. So I do think we're going to see, I do think a lot of San Diego fans were LAFC fans, but they obviously have a team in their backyard now, so it makes sense. You're going to support your local team. So I personally think they're going to have more. You know how obviously San Jose has more of a rivalry with LA Galaxy, the Cali Classico. I think that San Diego's.
Oh, never mind. I thought that was the first pick, but that's the first super draft pick. My bad. My apologies. Oh no, here we go. Yeah, here's the first pick. We have selected midfielder Heine Gickling Bruce from Orlando City in the expansion draft. All right. We have our first pick tweeted out by San Diego FC. The stream is delayed or something, but that is your first pick. Let me take a look at this guy.
Heine Gickling. Yeah, Bruseth. Let's look and see what it is.
Central midfield, 15 appearances, 2 goals, and 1 assist. He's from Norway. He is under contract until 2026, so that is probably a very club friendly deal. But yeah, another puzzling pick.
No, hey, Fabi, we have to talk about this real quick. San Diego FC loves the Nordics, man. They love their people from Norway. This will be like their 4th player on their team that's got Nordic roots.
Yeah, no, that is interesting to see. I mean, geez, I mean, hey, go get your guy, I guess. Guys, chat, put A through F. What do you guys think? A through F, and man, we're 3 likes away from 100. Let's go. Let's get there, guys. Come on. But yeah, definitely puzzling pick. F, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say D. Underwhelming.
I'm gonna say D too, because we looked at the list. We talked earlier. There's a lot more talent than there has been in years past. Now, let's see what this comment. Okay, so Guncon says, young pick, could be something in it. Could be, but if they don't trade him, it's kind of an odd selection. It looks. Do we got another one? Jasper. Oh, okay. Is this?
This was a super draft pick.
Okay, yeah.
Let me find out what he's making. That maybe that adds a whole bunch of I would say kind of. Let me see here. Gickling.
So
guaranteed compensation $217,000. So he has 2 more years at the club. Doesn't make much money. Young guy, could be something one day. Okay, perfect. I mean, I guess you want guys like that too. But I'm gonna take a look at this and see what guys were on the list for Orlando. You know, like what's going on here. What guys were on the list for Orlando here? Let's take a look. All right. Nicholas Lodeto, but you don't want to take that guy because you can get him in a free agency. Jack Lynn, a guy who was always on the score sheet. Gaston Gonzalez. Yeah, I guess if you're looking Luis Muriel, if you wanted to go down that route. I know there was a couple of Orlando fans making fun of that, and you should, trying to get incentivizing San Diego to get to pick Muriel. Yeah, I mean, crazy. I don't like the pick too much, but I guess one of the better picks in Orlando.
Well, another thing too, so the reason I don't like the pick is it does feel like maybe they're using it for trade bait, maybe. But if they don't, Fabi, they're taking a player that's unproven. Now, it obviously, if you want a player that has potential, okay, so they that was a pick. That was the 3rd pick. Jasper Loffelson was the 3rd pick. Here's the full. So Hamade Jop is the 2nd pick, the defender from Charlotte FC. Hosai Kajima is from St. Louis City SC. And then Thiago Andrade. So we have all 5 picks. These are all 5 picks.
I wonder why they did that. Like, why do all of them?
I guess just because, I mean, you don't really have to wait on the clock because you're making all the picks, right? So let's just run through this list real quick, okay? You got Heine from Bruseth from Orlando City.
Here we go. Here's the 250K GAM and the 9th pick for Andrade. I just think you can get better than that. I mean, what's 250K GAM? 1 international slot? Like, I'm not too crazy about that.
I'm not either, honestly. So we'll start with that one first. So Thiago Andrade, that's kind of underwhelming. That was their 5th pick, okay, from New York City FC. Their 4th pick was Hosai Kajima, who you said was, there's been reporting that he's going to be traded to DC United for 400K in GAM. Another weird pick. Then the 3rd pick is Jasper Loffelson, a fullback who played for the Colorado Rapids in 2024. They love the Nordics, right? Or they love the Scandinavian players, right? They love their Scandinavian players. Then they drafted Hamadeh Diop at number 2, the defender from Charlotte FC. I'll be honest with you, I'm not too. I'm gonna look up his profile real quick and just see what he's. Another young player from Senegal. He was on loan to Kukariki, I guess. It's a Serbian team. Sorry about the mispronunciation if I botched that. But either way, he's on loan right now. He's only got 3 appearances for Charlotte FC since he's been with the club and since 2023. That's another very odd pick. And then obviously we talked about Heine Bruseth, which is the first pick from Orlando City. Man, this is a very, very odd draft, Fabi. This is draft some young guys and try to flip them. A lot of people are pissed, dude. This honestly was a very, very weird draft.
Underwhelming for sure. Like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. There was better players available. How do you not take Matias Rojas? Like, that, in my opinion, is something that is shocking to me. You don't take Gressel. Like, you don't want to bring in guys who can perform in MLS, are proven in MLS. So, I mean, okay, 250K for Andrade, and if the 400K for Kojima is correct, then you need about 100K more for Reyes. So I don't know. That's 3 picks for one guy. They didn't pick Fagundes, another guy who was out there. No Brugman, right? So really, really shocking that they went with all the young guys.
Man, this is a very, very underwhelming draft. I don't think the team has gotten any better with this draft.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't think the team's gotten any better, and they still have a lot of pieces to fill out, Fabi. And we don't even know for sure how many of these guys are going to stay.
Everything that they chose still has to be filled out. Like, what is going on?
Man, this is a very, very underwhelming list.
Yeah,
I'm about to tweet this list real quick. I had a screenshot it from YouTube, so the picture quality is absolute shit. But yeah, this is a very underwhelming list. I don't think the team's gotten any better. Hopefully, they have some stuff, lined up. Now, chat. Let me ask you this: 1 through 10, what would you give this draft by San Diego FC? 1 through 10. 1, absolutely terrible. 10, it was a great expansion draft for them, and you think they're better. I want to know what you guys think this draft was for San Diego FC. I'll be honest with you, Fabi. This is the worst draft I've seen in a while. I mean, this is pretty bad, man.
Especially because the talent pool was so good. I mean, man, it's funny because everybody tried to, even myself included, everybody tried to say, this is how they're going to go. This is what they're going to do. But man, I don't think anybody got these right, so it's just funny to see.
So we got a 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3. 6 is the highest I've seen so far by MillyTube. Lucas says 1. Graham says 1 should have took Insigne. says 2, puzzling. 3 by Masio. Nathan's random channel says mid. Mr. says 3 out of 10. XD Golden says 3. I mean, dude, the consensus is this is a very, very mid draft, not making the team any better, dude. Very mediocre.
Mid is fair to say, but also, I mean, if you go get super draft picks, how do you not take an Inter Miami player? Like, what are you doing? I don't know. I don't know. They could have put Messi unprotected in San Diego, wouldn't have taken him. Like, what is this draft? Like, I still don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm going to. The team just didn't get any better today, man. I'm still confused about what they're doing. Like you said earlier about training for Sergio Dos Santos, he can't be your starting goalkeeper. He showed a couple games of promise in Miami when Drake Callender couldn't play.
Yeah,
but they obviously didn't want to keep him. They gave him away for 100K. So he wasn't a priority for them to keep. And man, I don't know. This team just has so much to do. And like I said, Mikey Veras is not a proven coach. Just feels like there's an uphill battle. I still think that they could be a very good team just because the money they're willing to spend. But this right here, the expansion draft, was not a win for them.
Look, I just made a tweet here the salaries of these guys in 2024. Lawful Send was 255K. Bruceff was 217K. Andrade was 219. Diop was 97K. Kijima 71K. So at least I think the strategy was to go for the lowest possible salary so we can have, things freed up. That's definitely the case because if you look at all these salaries, yes, they traded some of the guys, but they're all very, very low.
The consensus I'm seeing on Twitter is, what the hell are they doing, man? Like, what are they doing? Not good, Favi. Not good. This is going to be an uphill battle for them. The salaries are low, but they just got a lot of holes that they're going to have to fill with this team if they want to be competitive. Well, I mean, listen, this is a quick draft, right? We got the picks in. We've been streaming for an hour. Is there any final thoughts you have before we end the show?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm trying to bring up this list right now because I'm just in shock you didn't take a guy like Eric Williamson. I mean, a proven MLS guy. You didn't even take Jackson Ewell. I know he's not the craziest pick, but man, like Joao Paulo, guys who just stick out to me. Prince Owosu, a guy who had a good season last year, scoring goals in MLS. Who's going to score the goals for this team? There's so many holes. There's still so many holes. Guys like Matias Rojas were available. Shoot, even Hector Herrera, looking back now, all in retrospect, would have been nice. Bell from Seattle's another guy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for going ahead and telling me that. Yeah, I mean, you could have, shored up your defense even more. You went with young guys in the midfield. Super underwhelming in my opinion. If maybe the most underwhelming expansion draft I've ever seen.
It is, but you know what? The company was good at least. I had fun doing this with you. Had fun with the chat. The chat was someone said had Riz. We had Riz tonight. The chat had Riz tonight. It was a good night. Good showing. We peaked to like 250 people. Maybe we will do a reentry draft live stream possibly.
The only problem about the reentry draft is that they don't stream it. I kind of tweeted out today, all I want for Christmas is an MLS reentry draft stream because there's no way of finding out if we go ahead and choose the guy or they opt out of the reentry draft. Like, it's all behind closed doors. So personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I think MLS should definitely open up the transparency. But yeah, thank you guys so much for, 116 likes. Look at that, Will. That's crazy.
Hey, man, it was a hell of a night. Guys, listen, if you haven't already, like the stream down below. It helps us. There's going to be people watching this, maybe missed it live with us. It helps us out. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got more MLS content in the pipeline, some more things. I'm going to drop a video tomorrow about Don Garber and some of the comments he had last week at MLS Cup press conference talking about the future of the league. So you'll want to check that out tomorrow. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of my videos, live streams with Favi, or just any of the content in general. Make sure you follow this man on Twitter at Favi and Rankle for the best MLS coverage. Make sure you follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. And I appreciate you all for stopping by with us. Great chat tonight, active chat tonight. This will be the first of many streams. It's going to be one of the probably the last streams of the 2024 because the end of the year is right around the corner. But there'll be many more streams in the future and stuff like this. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Favi, anything left to say?
Okay. This is what I have to say. Your fan base is going to be dominantly Mexican American, or at least have some sort of ties to Mexico, and you're out here drafting Nordic guys. I don't know. I don't think this is the best way of kind of going about it. But here I have like the official, before we leave, I have the official kind of email from San Diego. They traded Kojima for 400K. That was correct. And then 250K in conditional GAM if certain performances are met. So Andrade is actually just for a first round pick, and then up to 250K in conditional GAM. So not as good. San Diego also retains a percentage of a future transfer fee if Andrade is sold. So they get 3 players. They pick up a draft pick. and they go ahead and get, I guess, some conditional GAM if the things are met, if the conditions are met. So, geez, man, you really couldn't get better than that. It's very, very disappointing. If I'm a San Diego fan, I am not flying high right now. That's for sure.
Well, let's see. We got one more super chat. No comment, but I appreciate the $4.99. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. Appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Until next time, guys. Favi, appreciate it, my friend. I will see you all soon.